everyone, welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Severe rain overnight and this morning is leading to widespread flooding and landslides across South Korea. One person was killed after two cars were trapped under a wall that appears to have collapsed because of the heavy rain. Rival parties clashed again at the National Assembly as confirmation hearings for President Lee's cabinet picks continue. Today, on the fourth day of the hearing, nominees for key posts, including the Foreign Minister and Finance Minister, are expected to appear at the parliament. Israel carried out an airstrike on Syria, killing at least one person and injuring more than a dozen. A Syrian news anchor was seen taking cover from the attack live on television, as a video behind her showed the Defense Ministry building being hit on air. Just days after enduring an intense heat wave, South Korea is now dealing with extremely heavy rain. Overnight, parts of the central region were hit with more than 300 millimeters of rain, with one man killed during the rain in Gyeonggi-do province. Our Park Hyubin has the latest.
A man in his 40s was killed on Wednesday evening after a wall collapsed and crushed his vehicle amid heavy rain across South Korea. The 10-meter retaining wall gave way in Osan City, Gyeonggi-do province, burying two passing vehicles under tons of debris. Passengers in one car managed to escape, but the driver of a second car was buried under 180 tons of concrete and soil.
The vehicle was completely crushed under the structure. It was too heavy to lift, so we had to dismantle it piece by piece.
Authorities suspect heavy downpours in the area contributed to the collapse. Rain began to intensify across central South Korea on Wednesday afternoon. Chungcheongnam-do province suffered some of the heaviest damage. In Seosan City, over 110 millimeters of rain fell in just 1 hour at around 2 a.m. on Thursday. Over 400 millimeters of rain drenched the city between Wednesday and early Thursday, the most in the country. As rivers swelled in Chungcheongnam-do province, the Galsancheon and Dangjincheon streams overflowed, raising flood concerns. 120 residents of Buyo and Seocheon, areas at risk of flooding and landslides, were evacuated to nearby community centers and elementary schools. The Chungcheongnam-do province fire headquarters also received more than 300 calls regarding issues with drainage overnight. Train services were affected as well. Korea Railroad suspended general train operations on parts of the Gyeongbu, Changhang, and Seohae lines around 6 a.m. due to heavy rain. The Korea Meteorological Administration forecast an additional 50 to 150 millimeters of rain in Daejeon, Sejong, and Chungcheongnam-do province, with some areas expecting over 180 millimeters on Thursday. Heavy rain accompanied by strong winds and lightning is expected across most regions through this Saturday. Officials are urging residents to take precautions against potential flooding. Park Hyubin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, President Lee Jae-myung met with families of the victims of national tragedies that have occurred in recent years, including the Itaewon Halloween crowd crush and the Sewol ferry sinking. The president offered an apology on behalf of the government. Our top office correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
The day after the nation remembered the second anniversary of the disastrous underpass flooding in the city of Osong, a large-scale dialogue took place with people who had lost loved ones in major social disasters in recent years, many of whose suffering is far from over. To these people, President Lee Jae-myung offered an official apology.
국정의 최고 책임자로서 국민들의 생명과 안전을 지켜야 될 정부의 책임을 다하지 못했던 점에 대해서, 그리고 그로 인해서 많은 사람들이 유명을 달리한 점에 대해서 공식적으로 정부를 대표해서 사죄의 말씀을 드립니다.
Invited to the Yeongbin-gwan Hall at the Blue House on Wednesday were some 200 of them for consolation and healing. Among them were bereaved families of the Sewol ferry sinking that killed more than 300 people in 2014, many of whom were young people aboard for a school trip, the Itaewon crowd crush in 2022, and the Busan airport crash late last year. Some still call for getting to the bottom of what happened and holding those responsible to account.
We call for an investigation into the cause of the disaster and for the Interior Ministry to immediately open an investigation to find out the cause of the flooding.
Others suffer from secondary victimization.
Since the disaster, we have never been apologized to for the state violence whereby victims have been subject to inspections and efforts to uncover the truth have been hindered.
As the message was clear about what should be done at a national level, the focus was on how the state should function to prevent such disasters from happening again.
국가의 제1의 책임은 국민의 생명과 안전을 지키는 것입니다. 국민이 위협받을 때, 또 국민이 보호받아야 할 때 그 자리에 있지 못했습니다. 그리고 이 사회가 생명보다 돈을 더 중시하고 안전보다는 비용을 먼저 생각하는 잘못된 풍토들이 있었기 때문에
Wednesday's meeting was part of President Lee's attempts to bolster direct communication with the people. Another town hall meeting is scheduled on Friday in the southeastern city of Busan. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
At the National Assembly, rival parties clashed again as confirmation hearings of cabinet nominees continue for the third day. Our political correspondent Shin-Young reports.
On the third day of hearings for the president's first cabinet, lawmakers on Wednesday questioned the nominees for education, justice, and labor ministers on their policy agendas and qualifications. Nominee for Education Minister Lee Jin-suk, whose role doubles as Deputy Prime Minister, emphasized her commitment to nurturing future talent in step with the development of AI.
I will focus on enhancing digital literacy and AI fundamentals from elementary through high school, building a strong foundation to develop AI talent that will help South Korea become a global leader in AI.
During the hearing, the focus was on allegations of Lee sending her daughter abroad for overseas study at an age deemed illegal under the law and committing academic plagiarism. Lee apologized, saying she understood the allegations disappointed public expectations, but she denied all claims related to her academic papers. She also said she was unaware that sending a child who had not graduated from middle school abroad without a parent was illegal. The ruling and opposition parties clashed over the nominees' qualifications.
If the candidate had any conscience, I would have expected her to step down before the hearing to avoid becoming a burden to the Lee Jae-myung administration.
Calling this candidate unqualified? Why are we holding this confirmation hearing? And why are the lawmakers sitting here as committee members?
Meanwhile, Justice Minister nominee Chung Song-ho said it was time to resolve the issue of separating the prosecution's investigation and indictment powers, emphasizing his commitment to prosecutorial reform, one of the Lee Jae-myung administration's key campaign pledges.
Separating the prosecution's powers to investigate and indict is an inevitable policy direction to ensure its political neutrality, reduce the concentration of power, and to establish checks and balances among investigative agencies.
Kim Young-un, the nominee for Employment and Labor Minister, pledged to resolve discrimination against temporary workers and ensure equal pay for equal work as his top priorities. Shin-Young, Arirang News.
Presidential envoys from South Korea visited Brussels this week, delivering a message that Korea's democracy is back after a month-long leadership vacuum triggered by last year's martial law crisis. Led by former Environment Minister Yoon Yeol-jun, the delegation met with top EU officials, including European Council President Antonio Costa and European Parliament Vice President Christel Schaldemose. Costa welcomed Korea's democratic recovery and voiced support for President Lee's dual-track policy toward North Korea, combining deterrence with dialogue. Marking 15 years of the Korea-EU strategic partnership, both sides pledged deeper cooperation in advanced technologies, climate action, and global security. U.S. President Donald Trump said Washington might push ahead with the proposed 25% reciprocal tariffs on Japan, hinting at difficulties in reaching a trade deal. Speaking at the White House on Wednesday, Trump said his administration may live by the letter with Japan, referring to letters he sent to countries notifying them of reciprocal tariff rates that will go into effect on August 1st. Observers expected tough trade negotiations between Washington and Tokyo, with Japan showing little flexibility on the U.S. call for more access to Japan's agricultural market. Now, over in the Middle East, Israel attacked the Syrian capital, partially destroying military buildings, including the entrance of the defense ministry. This comes as Israel vowed to destroy Syrian government forces attacking Druze communities in southern Syria, demanding that they withdraw. Our Lee Seung-jae has this report.
The Israel Defense Forces announced Wednesday that it had conducted airstrikes on Syria's military headquarters in Damascus. These strikes damaged both the entrance of the Defense Ministry building as well as a military headquarters located near the presidential palace. The moment of the attack was captured during a live news broadcast on local network Syria TV, as the anchor reported on Israel's threat to continue attacks.
إن الجيش سيواصل مهاجمة قوات.
According to Syria's Ministry of Health, at least one person was killed and 18 others injured in the airstrikes. Wednesday's attacks come as Israel vowed to destroy Syrian government forces attacking Druze communities in southern Syria, demanding that they withdraw. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Wednesday that while the situation in Syria is complicated, it's a misunderstanding and efforts towards de-escalation will be made soon.
So we've been engaged with them all morning long and all night long with both sides, and we think we're on our way towards a real de-escalation.
The UN Security Council is set to hold an emergency session on Thursday following the Israeli airstrikes. The meeting was requested by the Permanent Mission of Syria at the UN and was endorsed by Algeria. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Taekwondo, a traditional Korean martial art, has now evolved into a global sport, practiced worldwide with a focus on both physical and mental training. Today, the World Taekwondo Culture Expo kicked off here in South Korea and will run through next Tuesday. For more on this, we're joined by Kim Jung-hun, the chairperson of the Taekwondo Promotion Foundation. Mr. Kim, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
So could you just give us a brief overview of the World Taekwondo Culture Expo and how it will help promote Taekwondo internationally?
Yes, the 18th World Taekwondo Cultural Expo has begun for 6 days just today at Taekwondo One, the home of Taekwondo Spirit. There are over 4,000 participants from more than 30 countries participated, and there are a variety of programs, including Gyeonggi, Olympic-style fighting, and the Pumse, and the demonstration. Also, we prepared many cultural tour of Taekwondo One and the city of Muju, and you can also experience various Taekwondo-related experiences in Taekwondo One. It'll be a stage for sharing diverse culture, friendships, and promote the world peace.
I see. And like you just mentioned, it will be held at Taekwondo One, and this is where the World Taekwondo Diamond Game was recently held, right? Could you just tell us more about the significance of hosting international competitions like this and any outcomes from this?
Yes, we hosted the World Taekwondo Diamond Games the last week, and there were about 180 world top-class athletes from 14 countries participated in the event. Unlike any other ordinary championships, the matches took place in an octagonal trench style competition area, which enhanced with a specially designed scoring resort background screen and audio system, making the competition visually very unique and full of excitement. There are mixed gender team competitions, which promote gender equality aligned with the IOC commitment. World Taekwondo has been trying to put the mixed gender team competition into the Olympic Games in the future. And we invite you all. There's another international championship called the World Taekwondo Grand Prix Challenge, which will start on August 28th. It's a 4 days event. We invite you all. Come and enjoy matching the highest level of Taekwondo competitions and feel Taekwondo spirit in Taekwondo 1.
That sounds very exciting. And as chairperson of the Taekwondo Promotion Foundation yourself, could you tell us about the significance of Taekwondo as a sport, particularly how it focuses on building confidence and mental discipline in addition to physical skill?
Yes, me as a Taekwondo man, I'm 8 dan black belt. Originally, Taekwondo is a martial art, so we learn defensive and offensive techniques so you can protect yourself, your family, and your friends. Secondly, Taekwondo is also an Olympic official program, so you can dream to become an Olympian in the future by training Taekwondo. And someone asked me that, what's your Taekwondo philosophy? I would say that my Taekwondo philosophy is taking the right way. So I believe that most of Taekwondo people are trying to take the right way of their life. And also we have 5 tenets of Taekwondo, which promote Taekwondo discipline, courtesy, integrity, indomitable spirit, self-control, and perseverance. Those usually keep my life on the right track. Lastly, Taekwondo truly promotes world peace. We fight, but we shake hands, we hug, and we laugh together after the match. So I think Taekwondo is a very good tool for the world peace.
Right, it really is a beautiful sport indeed. And Taekwondo is practiced in over 200 countries worldwide. What further efforts do you think are needed to support its continued global growth?
Yes, Taekwondo has actually 213 member national associations plus 1. The plus 1 is a refugee. Taekwondo tries to help and extend global aid project to underdeveloped countries, such as dispatching Taekwondo volunteer masters and providing Taekwondo equipment, invite refugee players to the training camp, and also host the major Taekwondo championships and events, including international referee education seminars and coaches seminar, esports training camp, and para training camp, and etc. So we do a lot of work for many underdeveloped and behind people. As a public institution of the Republic of Korea, the foundation remains the steadfast in its commitment to creating sustainable public value for Taekwondo, developing world-class Taekwondo contents, and collaborating with stakeholders worldwide to make brighter future for our art. So we will be a chain to connect the world and promote the world peace. Thank you.
I see. It really is amazing how the traditional Korean martial art is practiced by millions across the world. All right, Mr. Kim, thank you so much for your insight today. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me.
Good morning, I'm Choi Ji-hee, and this is The World Now. Wall Street closed higher on Wednesday after an early drop triggered by reports that President Trump planned to dismiss Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, which Trump quickly called highly unlikely. Markets tumbled mid-morning on Wednesday with the S&P and Nasdaq falling more than 1%, while the dollar plunged and Treasury yields spiked after Bloomberg cited an anonymous White House source suggesting Powell would lose his job. The confusion grew amid concerns about Trump's repeated criticism of Powell for not cutting interest rates faster. However, stocks recovered swiftly once Trump denied any plan to fire Powell. The Dow rose 0.53%, the S&P 500 gained 0.32%, and the Nasdaq Composite added 0.26%. Tech shares lifted the Nasdaq to another record close. In the Middle East, at least 20 people have been killed in a fatal crush at an aid distribution site in Khan Yunis, southern Gaza. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, a U.S. and Israeli-endorsed NGO, reported on July 16th that the deaths occurred during food distribution in Khan Yunis. GHF officials said that armed people believed to be linked to Hamas deliberately caused unrest by infiltrating the crowd to cause panic. The Hamas-run Gaza government media office blamed the incident on the GHF, while witnesses said security personnel had used pepper spray on the crowd. Palestinian health authorities confirmed 21 deaths by suffocation, asserting many victims were crushed in an overcrowded enclosure. In Iceland, a volcano on the Reykjanes Peninsula in the southwest of the country erupted in the early hours of Wednesday. This marks the 12th eruption in the region since 2021. Lava fountains burst along a fissure up to a kilometer long, sending thick gray smoke and orange lava into the sky. Authorities evacuated the nearby town of Grindavik, home to approximately 4,000 people, and cleared the Blue Lagoon geothermal spa. Roads around the eruption zone have been closed, but flights have not yet been affected. While Reykjanes has been particularly active since 2021, the officials described the recent eruption as relatively small. Researchers in the UK published a study in the New England Journal of Medicine on July 16th, reporting that 8 healthy babies have been born using mitochondrial replacement therapy, which involves the use of genes from 3 people and achieved a 36% success rate. Developed by Newcastle University and the Newcastle Fertility Center, the procedure transferred the nucleus from a mother's fertilized egg into a donor egg containing healthy mitochondria. The babies now carry nuclear DNA from both parents and mitochondrial DNA from a third donor. All children aged from a few weeks to over 2 years are developing normally with no signs of the inherited mitochondrial disease that they were at risk for.
Widespread heavy rain has been lashing down on the country, especially in the central regions. We are seeing intense downpours of up to 80 millimeters an hour. And Chungcheongdo provinces are getting the most of the rainfall. The Seosan area has already seen over 400 millimeters of rain. The rest of Chungcheongdo saw 200 to 300 millimeters of showers so far, with heavy rain alerts being in place for most of central parts of Korea. A strong wind advisory is also in effect along the west coast. But concerns are on the rise as southern Gyeonggi-do and Chungcheongdo provinces could see up to 180 millimeters. The west of Jeollado could get up to 150 millimeters of downpours. Meanwhile, heavy rain will continue mainly in southern regions tomorrow and into Saturday. And this afternoon, Seoul will see rain tapering off with a high of 28 degrees. Gwangju topping out at 29 degrees. We are expecting localized heavy downpours for the next 2 days. This can cause rivers and streams to swell suddenly, so please, when rain starts to come down hard, move to a safe location right away.
That's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.